So targeted intrusion, we tend to see a lot of activity that is tied to geopolitical events. In the case of countries like China, that they'll typically leverage some of their collection apparatus to support their economic planning and their development, and often that will manifest itself in targeting of intellectual property or trade negotiation information or mergers and acquisitions data that they can leverage to help develop their economy further.
China is going to be something interesting to watch during 2016. At the end of 2015, we've seen these agreements crop up between China and the US and China and other countries saying that they're not going to engage in any more commercial espionage. These are things that we're just going to have to take a look at over time, particularly going into the next year, to see what effect, if any, these agreements are going to have long term.
The cybersecurity agreements between China and other countries, such as the United States, will likely cause a lot of these targeted intrusion adversaries to seek out more obfuscation methods to cover up their activity. And I think one notable trend that we will see in 2016 is the use of traditionally criminal tactics, techniques, and procedures to cover up this activity.
A lot of people have probably heard of China's 5-year plans, and we see them, there's a direct correlation in exactly how they come up with those plans. They're very well thought out as to how to achieve China's main goals. So in those 5-year plans, they talk about strategic outlooks, how they can potentially accomplish both technological as well as economic goals. We believe that a lot of their cyber tasking is based off of that, so they tend to go after certain targets that will be influential in helping them achieve those goals.
I believe that a number of sectors that could be targeted would be transportation, so that they could keep an eye on various individuals traveling. Another sector that could be targeted would be technology sector. A big push in China right now is to have more indigenous technological supplies within their infrastructure and to push out a lot of the Western technology that is currently being used.
For Russia, during 2015, there was a great deal of tension, certainly around Russian intervention in Ukraine. A lot of the actors that we have associated with Russia carried out operations that were aimed at gathering information pertaining to what was occurring in the Ukraine. So lots of Western governments were targeted, Western, sometimes defense contractors, think tanks. These were primary targets during 2015.
One of the actors that I recently worked on, which was Voodoo Bear, which we attribute to a Russian-sponsored group where they were using what previously was a piece of malware designed for conducting distributed denial-of-service attacks, but had been redesigned to allow for espionage-like operations. So for companies, when they get an alert from, say, an antivirus product that says, you've been infected with black energy, the immediate response may be, oh, this is a commodity denial-of-service malware. It's not a threat to our organization beyond just inherent risk. Knowing from CrowdStrike's products that this malware has also been observed used in an espionage capacity, companies have a better chance of being able to protect themselves from a larger breach. There's a lot of interesting activity coming out of the Middle East. It's a region that's undergoing a significant amount of turmoil, to say the least. But there are a lot of major powers that have very great interest in those regions.
We're certainly seeing a lot of interest in security issues, particularly around what's happening in Syria with ISIS and the Syrian civil war. We continue to see some Iran activity focused on energy and oil and gas targets.
One interesting trend that we've noted in 2015 was a continuation of cyber activity by suspected North Korean actors, especially in September of 2015, when there was a noted escalation in military tensions over the broadcasting from South Korea.
This is obviously a big target for them given the historical tensions between North and South Korea. But we do see, and we have seen activity in the last half of 2015, not only against South Korea, but also some against US targets. It's been something interesting showing that these actors are engaged in targeted intrusion and have interest in carrying out targeted intrusion at targets in the U.S.
We encounter a lot of customers that are surprised by the fact that they've been targeted by a nation state, and it's really oftentimes difficult to understand why they're targeted without looking at the nation state, their objectives, and having good intelligence to help support and understand what's going on within that nation state. All of these different countries have different things impacting their agendas and their leaders, and that changes their collection priorities, which is what we're focused on, is understanding what they're collecting using cyber techniques and tools. And by understanding what's going on in their physical realm, we can understand what they're going to target next.